Welcome back to the Real Talk with Elliott series. I'm known for teaching people how to ask questions because that's what the solution-focused approach is all about. But in this series, I actually answer questions because I want to be a resource. I want to help people have the best lives they can possibly have. That's very important to me. So I invite you to send your questions and I will make a video answering your questions to help you live a better life. And today's question comes from Janice L. Evans, who says, is there a solution-focused way to overcome driving anxiety or phobia of highways? So Janet, that makes me think of a client I worked with once. I had this client, he was in his early 20s, he hadn't been driving too long, a few years, and he got in a really bad car accident, and he now had significant anxiety about driving on major roads and highways. So what ended up happening is I would have a conversation with him about what difference will it make to you to overcome this phobia and this fear to be able to drive where you're going. And he said, I would feel like I'm more of an adult, I had more control and I had more freedom. And what we ended up realizing was while he's driving, instead of thinking about the process of driving, he needed to think about how much he enjoyed being free to go wherever he wanted to go, the type of freedom that a car would allow. And that shift in focus made the biggest difference for him. A few years later, I worked with a woman, and this woman, she was driving, and a man committed suicide by jumping into traffic, and she was the car that hit him. And she had resulted in a phobia as well of driving on main roads and highways, and a similar process unfolded. I asked her what difference would it make for her to be able to recapture this ability to drive, and she said, I would have the freedom to go wherever I want to go. I think freedom is a big, massive thing for us as human beings. That's why we all can't wait to get our driver's licenses when we come of age. That's why we don't like it when we have our car in the shop, and we want to be able to be free to go wherever we want to go. So help your clients shift their focus from the actual pragmatics of driving to the outcome that they actually want to achieve. And in my experience, that outcome is usually freedom. Another thing that you highlight in your question when it's is there a solution-focused way of handling this? And I think when people ask me that, they're asking what's the solution-focused technique to address this problem? But the solution-focused technique is the same with any problem, is help your clients think about their outcome. It doesn't matter whether the fear is driving, it doesn't matter whether it's depression, anxiety, alcohol, it doesn't matter. My job as a professional using this approach is to help my client to identify their outcome and then engage in a conversation where they're describing the presence of their outcome. So try not to be distracted by the fact that it's a driving issue, because in my experience, and I've seen several clients over the year that had a phobia, one of my favorite stories about this, which isn't really driving, Janice, but I had a client come to me, and this client traveled a lot, the kind of client that would fly from Dallas, Texas to Japan for a meeting and then fly home. So this person and I mean fly home the same day or even next day. This person traveled a lot for work. And all of a sudden they couldn't travel anymore. They just began to have a phobia about flying. And they came to me because they said to their boss, I'm sick, my wife is sick, my kids are sick. They gave all these excuses why they couldn't fly, to the point where they're about to lose their job. And it was a very high paying, highly accomplished job. And they came to therapy is there anything you can do to help me overcome this phobia, because I don't know where it came from? So I asked this person, what difference would it make for you to be able to overcome this phobia? And they talked about feeling free and feeling like they could provide for their family, no longer fearing they would lose their job and so on. I said, so if you woke up on the day after one of these trips, what would you notice to tell you that you had just taken this trip in a way you were pleased with? And they just described to me the process of having just been on a trip. So that was the first session. We scheduled another session for 2 weeks later, but the client called me from Japan and said, I forgot to let you know before I left that I won't be able to attend this meeting because it worked. I was able to get on my flight and fly all the way to Japan without any anxiety. And thank you so much for your work. but I don't think I need any more therapy because I was able to shift my focus to like the outcome I want, like who I want to be, and all of a sudden I could fly again. So don't get distracted by the problem. Just help your client describe the presence of their outcome, and it sorts itself out, really. So Janice, I hope that helps. I hope that makes a difference for the way you think about this particular issue, the fear of driving on highways, and I hope it makes a difference in the way you think about how you address any problem, really, with solution-focused brief therapy. So thank you, Janice, for your question. It means the world to me. Thank you so, so much. Anybody else out there who's listening, if you want me to answer a question, please leave that question in the comments. You can send me an email. You can even text me to 972-426-2640 because I really, really can't wait to make a video for you.